Hi, Roger Connect, President, Universal Accounting Center. And today I have Erin Engelbrecht with basically a company called Organize Piggy. And you've been running this business now as an operating CPA, offering accounting services for some time. And Erin, we've had a few conversations in the past, but I'm excited for today's discussion as we're going to talk about you and highlight your experiences and what advice you have for individuals like yourself within the accounting profession. So thank you for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, this is going to be kind of fun because I think just knowing the little I do about you and your experience, you have so much to offer. And most importantly, you have a genuine attitude of wanting to give back, which I think we're going to experience today. So I'm excited for our conversation. So let me begin just with a little bit of history. Share with everyone a little bit of your background as to how you got started into the accounting profession. How did that all start?
The love affair started in high school.
High school, okay. So what did that look like?
When I started high school, I met with my academic counselor. You put together a 4-year plan. What do you want to be when you grow up? So at the time, I wanted to be a corporate lawyer. I think I saw one too many TV shows, 80s women in power suits with the shoulder pads. So that was what I wanted to be. So all my electives that he chose were centered around business. So general business, any computer class they offered, and then accounting. There weren't a lot of business related electives at my high school. Mm-hmm. So he's like, well, we're going to do all of them and you'll take accounting your junior year. And I said, fine. So junior year came and I took accounting, and it's like when I started learning it, it was so second natured. Like it just completely made sense. It came to me very easily and I liked it. I looked forward to doing my homework, and being a teenager, I actually wanted to do the homework. It was like a puzzle. I always liked puzzles growing up as a kid, all types of puzzles. So to me, it was a more difficult puzzle because you get thrown more information than you need. So it's like you have these pieces and some of these pieces don't even belong to the puzzle, and you have to discern out what you need, what you don't, and then put this puzzle together. So I liked just the whole concept of it. I understood the concepts very easily. And I said, this is what I want to do. So I decided that I was closer to graduating, and I said, well, I want to major in accounting when I go to college.
I love your story. So many people actually have that experience of early on in their careers or early on in their schooling getting drawn to the accounting business model and so forth. So it's wonderful that you saw that so early on working with your academic counselor. But I love your accounting analogy, that of the puzzle. I think that's a common one I've heard before, and I love it because you can start with very simplistic puzzles, so many pieces, say 20, 50 pieces, but then you can get to the much larger puzzles of 1,000-piece puzzles or 5,000-piece puzzles, and it's very intricate. But as you get into more and more complex businesses, that puzzle analogy starts to resonate more and more as you start to define, here are the elements, the transactions, the things going on in the business that make up this whole, and you're trying to put all the pieces together to tell a story, to present a picture of what the company is truly doing. So I've got a curious question for you. When you do puzzles, do you actually have a method to the madness of how you organize and how you actually systematically do a puzzle? Do you have a system you follow?
It depends on the type of puzzle. It's anywhere from jigsaw puzzles to crosswords to cryptograms, Sudoku. I like a very wide range of puzzles. So it depends on the puzzle. So if you're talking about a jigsaw puzzle, I always start with the edges first.
Well, first of all, you're right. There are numerous types of puzzles. Sudoku is a popular one. But I had an employer once where the owner of the company, when this was back in my early 20s, he basically came and he wanted to see how I thought. And so he was bringing in some people within the management training program at the company. He had a puzzle and he had put the puzzle out, and he just basically wanted to see how we each approached the puzzle and what things did we focus on. And interestingly enough, different people had different ways of, or strategies, if you will, of doing the puzzle. And mine was, you traditionally start with the borders, find all of those sharp edges that you can actually put in together, get the frame so you can get a context as to how large proportionally the picture is to the box you're using as a reference. And so as I'm going through that, he was just watching how I went systematically through it. Did I organize the pieces by colors? Did I organize the pieces by types? And so evidently there's a variety of different strategies, and mine was like you described, beginning with the outer edges and then getting that context as to how large that picture is in comparison to the box image that I'm seeing. So great, I love that. It was a wonderful story. So obviously you went from high school into college. Tell me about the college experience. I'm sure the love for accounting continued there. You went and got your degree. Any advice for someone that's perhaps in that path of going through and getting their degree at this point?
I don't know how much the curriculum has changed since I was in college. I was in college in the early 90s. I just know that the intermediate accounting courses, they called the weed out classes. If you could get through that, then the rest was kind of downhill from there. So it's just a matter of sticking with it and making sure that as you're going through your core courses, that you still retain that love and that passion. Because with intermediate, you get into more advanced concepts. With advanced accounting, you get more into consolidations and elimination entries, which people might never encounter in their life if they never work for multi-entity companies. But it's good to have a basis in everything, and it helps you have a certain way of thinking. Just like I was required to take Introduction to Logic in college. That was a required course. It was considered a philosophy course. But what I liked about it is we did these different concepts where there's like this order of operations to solve logical problems. And I think that you can apply that same order of operations or that same methodical thinking to math or accounting. So I would just keep an open mind, even with the other classes you have to take in college for liberal arts, the sciences, chemistry, biology, psychology. I think they all have something to offer. I would take all of them seriously. It just makes you a more well-rounded person. As far as just the accounting core courses, and I don't know how much they've changed over time, just make sure you retain that love, and that it's something that you want to live in the rest of your life.
Good point. Yeah, the thing I would add to that, and I think it's the same as you were saying, is a lot of people are initially drawn to the accounting profession because of the absoluteness of the numbers. It's very systemic in the sense that you follow certain rules of thumb and you can create your financial reports. But as you get further into the profession, there's actually a switch that allows now the creativity to come in, and you start to realize that there are different ways you can handle similar situations. And whether that be through tax planning or forecasting or budgeting, there's a lot of creativity that when you get into accounting, you can really find that you can have a personality or a style to it that's above and beyond the simplicity or the continuity of the numbers themselves. And so I like how you were describing how the liberal arts and the creative side of things can actually then play a role in all that. So that's very, very good. Now, let me ask you this. You got to a point in your career where you chose to start your own business. Tell us about how that transition occurred. You leave college, you get to a point now where you can start your own firm. Why did that happen? How did that happen?
Well, I started working in corporate first. So in 96, while I was in my last semester of college, I had just 2 night classes left. So I did start working full time with a large company. And I worked at several places in the next 19 years. So I did work privately for 19 years for a company. I did have 2 years as an auditor with the state. But other than that, it was small to medium-sized companies. At first, it really didn't cross my mind to go out on my own. Probably just being younger, just getting out of college, you're worried about stability and that absoluteness of having income come in. But as I got through my career, as I went through my career, I felt like my personality was better suited for helping lots of different companies versus one. So when we had the economic downturn in 2008, 2009, I did work in the construction industry. So I did lose my job, and there was no work to be had anyway. So that was the first time I really contemplated going out on my own. But again, at the time, the economy was horrible and nobody was even hiring contract work for bookkeeping or anything like that. So that, and plus there was no social media really. It was hard to advertise. There was Craigslist, okay. So I really didn't even know how to start at that point. So I ended up going back into the workforce once the economy got better. And then in 2015, January, right at the beginning, I did lose my job. And that's when, and I was kind of thinking anyway, even before that, it wasn't a good fit. Just again, it's like my personality. That's when I really started thinking, I want to go out on my own there's lots of reasons I wanted to go out on my own. So the job loss pushed me, and really there's never a good time. People can say, well, when this happens, then I'll do it. Or when I put aside this much money, I'll do it. There's all these conditions, and it's never a good time, because once that happens, then you say, well, okay, well, this needs to happen as well. So I did kind of get pushed into it, but I'm so glad that it happened, because now it's been, I launched my business April of 2015. So it's been just over 4 years, and I wish I would have done it sooner, because I now have this opportunity to help lots of small business owners, and just my personality just meshes a lot better working with small business owners.
One of the things that I think a lot of people will resonate with is starting your business wasn't necessarily your priority. It wasn't something you had on your bucket list of, I'm looking forward to the day when I can do this. You were obviously put into a situation where you had to, and out of necessity, you started your business. But looking back in hindsight, you add that last statement, which is you're glad you've done this and which you wish you had done it sooner. So I like the fact that people can actually see in you that those same challenges or struggles existed, but in the end, it was worth it. Wouldn't you agree?
It was totally worth it. I mean, for lots of reasons, like being my own boss, making my own schedule, and being able to serve the clients that I want to serve, that fit. They call it like immutable laws. Like if you've read The Pumpkin Plan by Michael Michalowicz, he talks about finding clients that share the same immutable laws as you. And then you have this really super positive relationship. So, when you have your own practice, you can do that. You can just retain the clients that share these same laws as you. And then it doesn't even seem like work, you're doing what you love. You're doing it when you want to do it. You call your own shots. You have this flexibility, and you can grow or mold your practice as you want. You make it however you want. People have different goals. Some people want to have a multi-million-dollar firm with lots of employees. Some don't. For me personally, I want to be a solo practitioner indefinitely. I don't want to hire contractors, employees. That's just me personally. Yeah. But now I have the flexibility where it's like I can stay working for myself, not have to hire other people, and obtain the income level that I want to, and have a life.
Well, the thing that you're doing here is you're working on your business. You're very clear as to who your ideal clients are, who it is that you want to work with whom you want to be in business. And all of a sudden, what you start to recognize is you're building your business as you wanted to, rather than it driving you or controlling you or influencing you as you're now just an employee within this company. It's your business, and you're owning it, and you're building it as you choose. So that's great. So what advice would you have for someone who is in that position where they're looking to start, or may have just begun starting their business, getting clients? What advice would you have for them looking back? In fact, what advice would you give yourself if you could back in 2015? What would you tell yourself?
If I had to tell my 2015 self anything, I would have said that networking was a waste of time.
Okay.
Do you want me to expand on that?
Of course, please.
I had this vision in my head when I first started that networking was the key. Getting to know a lot of people, getting the word out, because just working for a company for so long, I wasn't well networked. I didn't know a lot of people. I just went to the same place of business, kept my head to the grindstone, and did my work. So I just, everything I was reading was like, oh, you got to network, you got to network. So I was networking like crazy. I was going to all these networking events, 5 to 8 a week. But here's the thing. So I live in Phoenix, Arizona. And what I found out just from meeting people who are from somewhere else is that the networking landscape is very different here. It's a little weird. Whereas networking might be a very effective strategy for someone who lives somewhere else. But I remember I got like a free mentoring session from the Arizona Small Business Association, and this guy was a retired CPA, and he even told me networking's a waste of time. And I'm thinking, this guy's crazy. I need to meet people. But in hindsight, again, he was absolutely right. And it's just because of my geography where with networking, if you're going to do it, remember that people aren't there to buy, so you shouldn't be there to sell. And here, what I noticed is, I went not to sell, but to, like, again, make friends, make connections, forge relationships, whereas the majority of attendees are there to sell. So that's why here specifically, it wasn't a good strategy. And I did that for about 8 months, worked 5 to 8 events a week, and it really exhausted me.
So what was the thing that you felt was the turning point? What was the solution for you as you were starting your business? What would you tell yourself in 2015 to do or do more of?
It's really weird how everything kind of got started for me. I tried different strategies as far as getting my name out there. And for me, what happened it was being on the QuickBooks Pro Advisor directory. So of course I did everything I could to optimize my profile, but it really started there. And there's only so much you can do with your listing. And I know some people have no luck with it at all, but I mean, right now, the vast majority of my clients come from that directory, and the rest are word of mouth. So it was just a matter of being patient, just getting those first few clients under your belt. And just from there, it just seemed there was this cascading effect. And I think, the word of mouth helped, but I think it's like, if you do get a couple clients, the first one was a friend, which happens a lot with people. They're your friends on Facebook, they see you're doing it, and, oh, hey, I have a business, can you help? My second client was through the Pro Advisor directory, and it's just they were geographically close to me. So there was a little bit of luck involved, but I think what really matters is the clients that you do have, and it can just be 1 or 2, is you have to give them like this fantastic experience.
So with that in mind, you obviously then grew your business. You've got your practice in place. You've got the clients. What story could you share with us as to how you've made a difference in one of your clients, how you've actually seen the impact of what it is you offer as a service?
It's happened to a lot of clients. I mean, a typical scenario for me, because so my ideal client are micro businesses. So a lot of single member LLCs, they usually don't have employees. So I'm dealing with very small businesses, and most of them are local to Arizona, even though I do have remote clients. It's a very typical situation where we schedule a consultation call, and when we start the call, I always start my call the same way. Tell me about yourself and your business. And it always just, the floodgates open, and they do. And it's like you're part psychologist. And so you have all these small business owners who are extremely worried and stressed out about, they don't know what their tax situation is. Their books are a mess, or they've never maintained their books. And whatever it is, whether it's tax or accounting, there's just this stress, and there's this worry, and there's this anxiety. And I hear it all the time. So I can't think of a specific story off the top of my head, but because I see it so much where I can hear it in their voice. They say it out loud that they're just very stressed out. They're losing sleep at night over this. And so I just let them let it all out, tell me what's going on. And then what I do is I kind of give them a plan. Well, we can do this, we can do that. So I kind of, allay their fears and say, this, no problem. We got this. We just got to do this and this and this. Stop doing this. Start doing this. And instantly, when they know there's a plan in place, it's like the anxiety just goes away. And I see it all the time where by the end of a phone call, they are happy. There's no more stress in their voice. And it's like people just want to be heard. And I think that's important is just listen and then kind of repeat back, paraphrase. Okay, so if I'm hearing you correctly, this is what's going on. And here's some possible solutions to your issue that we can talk about more. But as long as they know like somebody out there has a solution or problem, I mean, just the stress just melts away. And they're just completely sold. You know, they're like, cool, this is one less thing that I'm going to have to worry about. And she's got my back.
Yeah, yeah. One of the things that I heard as you were explaining that is you mentioned the word psychiatrist. I don't know how to explain this other than how you described it, which is oftentimes when working with clients, they'll finally feel comfortable enough to confide in you some of these other things that are impacting their lives that affect their business. And all of a sudden, what they find in you is someone that they can trust, that they can open up to, kind of confide in, and you start to get insights into things that are actually outside of the business, but yet impacting the business. They confide in you. They feel that someone's listening all of a sudden. And so at the end of the phone call, at the end of the meeting, they feel that sense of relief of, I've got this off my chest. It's out in the open. I can now speak with someone about it. And so if you're providing that for your clients, then you're becoming the epitome of a trusted strategic advisor, which is far more than their accountant CPA. And I think that's valuable, especially as you were describing very early on, that you're acquiring clients that you can relate with and have this similar type of relationship. You want to have a relationship with them that's this way. They in turn are looking to find someone that they can open up to, and that's where that meshing occurs. And now you have this great loyal customer that you're going to have for time, and that's going to be a great experience. So I loved how you described that. So here's my next question for you. You've obviously got this clientele list. You're in business. You're being successful. In fact, you're very much so in this give back mentality. What would you say to a peer who also, like you, whether an accountant, CPA, they're running a business, they've got clients? What advice would you have for a peer who is also trying to figure out how to remain relevant in the accounting profession, how to keep their business going? How to, what's that next thing that you would say to your peer who's just trying to stay relevant with their clients and stay focused like you are right now?
Are you talking about people that already have like a client base?
Oh yeah, just like you. You're already in business. You already have a client base. You're a thriving firm, and all of a sudden they get a chance to speak with you peer to peer. What advice, what insight would you give? Because I'm in the same situation you are. So in other words, what advice would you give to yourself?
I referred to the book already, but The Pumpkin Plan by Michael Michalowicz is awesome. It's a great way to have the client base that you want, but also he talks about marketing your business as well. And he gives a lot of specific examples for specific industries, but it kind of sparks your imagination for our specific industry. One thing is, check in with your clients. Don't rest on your laurels. He talks about, pick your favorite clients out of your list. We all have them, don't lie. And schedule a call with them, respect their time and schedule it. And then, ask them like, what do you not like about our industry? Maybe not you personally, but just accounting or tax. Like, what do you not like? What do you wish we would do? This really opens up an opportunity to see if there's some offerings you can give your client that you didn't even know about. So keeping those lines of communication open are really important. And again, it shows that you care. And I think people that are in this profession like that really truly care, it's going to shine through. And I think those are the people that really flourish more so than someone that say doesn't care as much about their clients on a personal level. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not trying to downgrade that or anything. But clients want to know that you care. And a lot of these clients that I've acquired, like in the consults, one common thing I heard is that people who had bookkeepers or tax preparers is, I felt like they didn't care about me. They didn't return my calls. They didn't answer my emails, or they waited 2 weeks. These are the things like that I'm hearing from people that they've used. So it's like, oh, They don't like that. Not that I do that anyway, but they don't like to be ignored. They're small businesses. They know they are. They know we probably have bigger clients, high revenue clients, but they still want to be treated with care and
Yep.
respect, and that they're important too. So I would say, you know, for anyone who does have an established client base, you know, check in with them, communicate, and, you know, if you do deal with smaller businesses, you got to give them the same level of care as you would anybody else, because they're human beings, and they deserve to be serviced just as well as a larger client.
Very well said. You know, there's two things that I draw from all of that. The first being is client retention is key. You put so much time and energy and effort finding that right client, onboarding that right client, building a relationship with that client. But the essence of it is client retention. The lifetime value of a client is as many as 7 years. Well, that's only achieved when you actually build a very good working relationship with the client, and they establish this sense of loyalty to you because you're helping them in their business. You're doing more than maybe what they have experienced with other accounting professionals, bookkeepers, and so forth. And so as you're focused on their needs, like you've described, it allows you to best meet their expectations and exceed them. So very well said. The second thing I'd bring up is you've twice mentioned Mike Michalowicz, and he has some great books. In addition to the book you mentioned, he's got Profit First. He just recently came out with Clockworks. He has another book that's coming out this next year. So he's constantly bringing to the business world these insights that we can easily implement and use within our companies. One of the things that I would definitely say is Profit First, which is actually just right here, is a phenomenal resource when working with accounting clients, because it allows us to, as Profit First professionals, be that consummate, strategic, trusted advisor that they need to make profit a priority. And so I agree entirely with what you're saying in that context. So here's my last thing. What tips or advice would you give to accounting professionals that you think are relevant? And I say that in the context of, where do you see the accounting profession going in the coming years? What do you think is going to change, and what tips and advice do you have according to that?
Well, I don't think we're going to get replaced by robots, so I'm not sweating that too much. You know, technology's changing. Remote arrangements. Whoever would have thought, you know, 10 years ago that you could have a client halfway across the country, or even halfway around the world. I mean, it really comes down to just caring about your client. But I'm not sure if you wanted me to get into advice for people just starting out or not. I don't want to go off the tracks with you.
No, please. I think that would be great advice. As we're wrapping things up, what advice would you have for someone that's just starting out?
For just starting out, I mean, there's so much, but like two pieces of high level advice, and one's more like kind of like, I want to say a warning, like you've been warned. But one thing is, when you start out with 0 clients and you're starting from scratch, like I did, be prepared to constantly be out of your comfort zone. Constantly. So an example would be, there's a lot of introverts, well, in any profession, you know, so introverts, so they might have a hard time, talking with clients, or there's all these ideas on how to drum a business. Like you can do public speaking engagements, you can do Facebook Live videos, or on Instagram. And sometimes introverts have a hard time with that, which is understandable. But sometimes you do have to come out of your comfort zone to reach your goals of acquiring a client. So that's one example of being out of your comfort zone. And another is, an example of that is, if you don't have the budget to outsource things like your marketing, you're going to have to figure it out yourself. And it seems like marketing is the antithesis of accounting. So accountants are like, it's marketing, I don't know. Well, you're going to have to learn it if you can't afford to hire someone to do it. So again, like marketing is out of your comfort zone maybe, and you're just going to have to figure it out to learn how to do social media or whatever it is you're doing. Maybe blog, you're not a strong writer, learn how to write more strongly. There's plenty of free resources out there. So that was one piece of advice, is just get used to being out of your comfort zone. You won't grow if you stay in it. And then my second piece would be, out of all the qualities an entrepreneur needs to have, I think that the two most important for our profession is tenacity and resourcefulness. The tenacity is things aren't going to just fall in your lap. You might try different strategies for client acquisition, and it might not work. Fine, move on. You tried it, it doesn't work, move on to the next thing. So don't give up. and network with other accountants, get in some of these other accountant groups, see what they've tried, what worked, what didn't. And also the resourcefulness. And it goes back to, if you have to do a lot of these things yourself, like the marketing, you got to figure it out. So, Google's going to be your best friend. Facebook groups or other groups are going to be your best friend. And it's a matter, I was able to do so much, like say my lead magnet and my email drip campaign. And I was able to do that for no money at all, but I had to figure out how to do it for no money. And stuff like that just doesn't like pop on the internet. You have to kind of dig a little bit. So it's like, if you have this limited budget, you can produce a pretty great marketing campaign for little to no money, but you got to be resourceful and figure out how to do it and where to go to do it. So I would say those are probably the two really important qualities to have when you first start out.
That is wonderful. And I appreciate those pieces of advice because I can identify with those. Those things are very, very true. In fact, the way we refer to this is in regards to becoming that resourceful entrepreneur, is we refer to it as becoming an counterpreneur. It's recognizing that in addition to being an accountant, you have to be an entrepreneur, and you've got to be thinking that way. And you said it with marketing. You have to understand that as good as you are offering accounting, bookkeeping, tax services, as great as you are preparing those financials, it doesn't matter if you don't have clients that are paying you. So you've got to get the clients, and it all starts with marketing. Where do you go find those potential clients that you could get as a business owner? Where do you find them, and how do you actually nurture them through a sales funnel so that they get to the point of doing an engagement with you? And that's a process that's oftentimes outside of your comfort zone, but has to happen. You've got to be getting clients. So we have a mantra here that nothing happens until you make a sale. So as much as you may be focused on other little things that need to be done within your business, such as buying pieces of paper or buying a filing cabinet or getting something online, it doesn't boil down to anything more than you just have to go out and get a client. That's what we want to focus on. And then the second thing that I would also add to what you shared is that we need to focus on things that allow you to really excel. And so we here at Universal Accounting Center have specific programs that are designed to tap into those holes that you may have so that we can address two key elements: confidence and competence. You've got to be confident enough to look a business owner in the eye and say, I can take care of your accounting needs. The second thing is you have to have the competency to go back to the office and do the work efficiently so that you're profitable. Because I'm not going to challenge necessarily your skills to produce the quality financial, but I will challenge your ability to do it efficiently, quickly, so that you're profitable providing that report. So those are some of the key essences of what I'd like to just add to that. So Erin, thank you so much for taking the time today to share these little insights, to share your story. You've got something that I think a lot of people can relate to, but more importantly, your advice I think is very timely and much appreciated. So those little nuggets, thank you so much for sharing.
Well, thank you. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to share them. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, this has been wonderful. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just basically put some things down in the description that each of you will be able to tap into. She brought up some things related to Mike Michalowicz. I'll put those things down below for you to see those. And with this, just understand this: if it's about accounting, it is universal. So take care, have a great day, and thanks for your time. Bye-bye, everybody.